It's the final session. We're almost
Final
there.
session. We made it to the end. How was everyone's conference? Had a good week?
Good.
It went by so fast for everyone else too. At least for me it did. But it was a really, really fun week. I know I am already looking forward to next year.
Okay.
Countdown begins.
Definitely. Well, we can get started here. So welcome everyone to kind of the reverse Ask the Experts, but also Ask the Expert session. Throw the gang sign up. But my name's Stephen Bucher. This is Cindy Smith. We're from the PowerShell team. We're going to be kind of trying to do an interactive session here with you guys, with you all, to make sure we kind of get some of your questions answered, as well as for us to learn a little bit more about how you're using PowerShell in your work.
We want to keep this
Go ahead.
Session casual, fun. We have some special guests. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors for this conference. Let's give them a round of applause.
Without them,
we like to start the session by just a little overview of who the PowerShell team is. Obviously, Steven and I are super privileged that we got the opportunity to travel out to Prague and spend this week with you. But we like to just give a quick overview who the PowerShell team is and what we're all about. Yeah,
we wanted to give kind of a high-level overview of what our mission statement is as the PowerShell team, what kind of areas that we work on specifically. Like, PowerShell is a very big product, and there's so many different PowerShell modules, applications you can use PowerShell for, and so we want to help you guys understand where we are. And so our main mission is to improve the lives of folks working on operations by simplifying automation. That is our PowerShell team mission statement, derived from, of course, the Microsoft mission statement. We want to focus more towards the folks working on operations to simplify automation, because that just helps everyone in their daily workflow. That's what PowerShell does best, and what really can empower the world that way.
And so when we think about the different areas we develop under and sort of our different feature areas we consider, this is sort of like a viewpoint of the different areas we focus under. So we have like the Azure command line tools are sort of owned by our team and an adjacent team. So this is like the AZ PowerShell module and the AZ CLI.
Yeah. Of course, we also have the PowerShell language and scripting. This is the core language, the core engine, and the scripting capabilities of PowerShell. That responsibility falls under our team. We then also have kind of the remote machine management. Something that may not be known is we also own the OpenSSH Windows SKU. And so SSH and remoting is a big priority to ours to make sure that we can help create the most secure, easy remoting protocols for you guys today.
So our team also owns CloudShell. We think of that like CloudShell as being like a management from anywhere platform. And we also focus on desired state configuration, partnering closely with machine configuration. As part of the PowerShell language, we also think about the PowerShell ecosystem and like how are you going to not only use PowerShell but develop with PowerShell. So we think about PowerShell developer tools. When I think about the PowerShell developer tools feature set, I think about things like the VS Code extension and the package management ecosystem.
Yeah, we also, of course, work with the interactive PowerShell or PowerShell as a shell. This is you typing into PowerShell, how it can best interact with you, how we can best enhance your experience there. That's something that we've recently been transitioning towards a higher priority to make sure that the shell can be assistive to you, and the shell can be the best shell that you can run kind of anything in. And finally, of course, a big priority of ours is the PowerShell community and the open sourcing of PowerShell. We spend every Monday now, we started this last year, we spend 20% of our time every Monday on what we call Community Day. So, we heard from the community that it's sometimes hard to expect a response from us as the PowerShell team, be it with a PR that you've created or an issue that you've posted for GitHub. And so we heard that and said, okay, we need to dedicate some real time for having our whole engineering team and our whole PM team working specifically in the repo to respond to issues, to review PRs, and make sure that the community work is being recognized and heard. Anything you want to add to that?
No, so I think that just gives you like an overview, like what does the PowerShell team do? Like this is the surface area the team owns, but like who's behind it, all right? So like we like to show like this is the team, okay? And so at Microsoft, under the profession of software engineering, we have our like engineering teams. And in the profession of software engineering, we have two disciplines. We have PMs and we have developers. And so here we have our lovely PM team and we have our lovely dev team. And together we work really closely together along with our amazing community to make PowerShell great.
Yeah.
And I want to call out a couple, yeah? I want to call out in the making of this slide, there are a few things that are missing from this slide. So this is the PowerShell engineering team, but there's a few engineering teams that we called out on the last slide that actually didn't make it into this slide because we don't have pictures of them. And that is the Shanghai engineering team that develops all of our Azure tooling for PowerShell and Azure CLI. They're a really amazing team. We work really closely with them. They're not represented on this slide. CloudShell team, they're also part of our engineering team. Also not on this slide, but and I might be missing a few others, but this is the PowerShell engineering and PM team.
Yeah, well, something we also can't forget to mention is our amazing doc writers. Documentation is absolutely valuable for any of our jobs, and so we have to give a big shout out to Sean Wheeler and Mikey Lombardi, who are underneath the engineering side here, but they're very much part of our team as essential to creating valuable docs and documentation for all of you to use so you can better understand and learn the new things that we're creating as well as the existing things that are out there. They work tirelessly to make sure docs are updated with the new stuff as well as fixing old bugs, regressions, or old examples, but they also love working with the community. So if you ever find a doc that might be out of date, you can submit a GitHub issue right there and then, and they'll be on it very quickly to kind of make sure docs are up to date. But yeah, that's kind of our team. Together we make such a wonderful PowerShell family.
Along with our community and partner teams. And one thing I would call out about both Sean, Mikey, and so many other amazing members of our team is that they were community hires. So they actually came from the PowerShell community. They were open source contributors, and then they eventually joined the team as well. But with that, we like to mix things up here on the PowerShell team. You know, we get a little fun, we get a little funky. So we start our AMAs with a reverse AMA. We're spinning it on you. We're ready for the hard questions. Don't worry, I'm gonna leave some time. But first, we're gonna ask you the hard questions and see what you have to say. So our first question is, what is the most important reason you use PowerShell? And for the brave folks, we also have pins and stickers, but I see we have a...
Good. One more. Is the yellow mic? That's helpful.
Good. We're up.
Is it on now? It says that. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Cool.
Now it's better.
There we go.
Practically speaking, I'm using PowerShell because I'm too stupid to use other languages. Practically speaking, it is very positive because curve of learning is quite high. When I'm teach my colleagues in my company to quick start of PowerShell, and practically they are able to start operate, make scripts, make an operation after 3-4 hour session when we start everything. And it is fair enough. Of course, it is some problems like lack of some standard library for modern HTTP or SMTP protocols support, but it is fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. There's another hand there I think I saw. Or?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Small addition, the main reason for me when I started was I was too lazy. There were colleagues handling issues. It took them about half an hour to an hour to resolve them, and writing a script and resolving those issues in 30 seconds for me is fine, but for the end users, even better.
Awesome.
Yeah, over here, maybe? We'll get you next,
Run some pins and stuff.
Hello.
For your answer.
I use PowerShell because I'm a lazy system engineer, and I started my career 25 years ago, where at that time there were practically no tool to automate the Windows platform. I used almost every language is possible on the Microsoft platform, and I use VBScript a lot. And when I discovered PowerShell, I said, wow, it's another world. So I invested myself a lot and spread the word, and that's it.
Fantastic.
Should like
I think there's another hand back there. He's got the mic there.
Yeah.
And we'll set the other questions up.
So yeah, I like to just see it as the best tool I have in my toolbox to get stuff done. So it doesn't matter if I'm trying to do a migration of data. I've gotten a request to generate some report that I need to pull information from several different sources. Regardless of what I'm doing, PowerShell gives me a tool set to do that, and it makes my life easier, and it also makes me look good because I'm able to deliver. And so, yeah, it's helped me improve my career. I can automate tasks and gives me time to do other things. So all of this is made possible with PowerShell.
Awesome. Cool.
So I think we're going to put up the other. Should we just put up
the rest of
the rest of the questions? And so we'll
now
open up the floor.
Yeah.
With these other questions as well. So what are the biggest challenges you face with PowerShell today? Like, let's hear them. Like, what's the tough stuff you face in your job today?
No, one of our number one priorities on a PowerShell team is how can we make your guys' life easier? So what are the challenges that are, that you're facing with PowerShell or at your job today that we can help improve?
And a second question, if you had a magic wand, what would you like to see in PowerShell today? And let's see if we can make it happen. Yeah.
Again, me, sorry.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
To me, the one difficult part to automate is manipulating ACLs, in particular on files, but in Active Directory as well. And long time ago, I gave a big shout out to Microsoft because I was concerned because they released classes, and as IT pros, we don't really care. But we wanted tools to ease our day-to-day job as a system engineer, and manipulating ACLs is still a pain today. Mm-hmm. That's my point. I don't know if other people in the room share
I heard some
my point
cheers.
of view.
Yeah, there we go. Another couple hands. I think I saw. Oh, there we go. We got it.
Yeah.
Mic over there, and then we'll bounce to this side of the room.
Yeah, we'll just keep. We have time. Yeah.
So if I had a magic wand, I would add more possibilities for callback mechanisms in PowerShell, especially now with all the parallelization added in PowerShell 7. I find myself often in loops where I would like to have some callback and not be possible to do this yet.
Okay. Great feedback. I think there was a hand over there.
Yeah. If I had a magic wand, I would like native YAML support in PowerShell.
Native YAML support.
I'll give you.
Oh, we got some. All right.
Those.
Okay, I think we got some in the middle here. I think I saw it in the white shirt first, and then we'll bounce around.
We automate most of the things, but sometimes we still have to remote into machines and try to edit some files manually. Mm-hmm. And we use WinRM mostly. And I find it very difficult to just edit a file, something Vim-like, where we can go in a file, check something, change a few lines, and save it.
I see, via WinRM, okay.
What?
Very cool.
We're going to the edges.
Going to the edges, we'll go one over here, and then we'll bounce back to the middle.
All right, thank you. I just want to say that my biggest challenge for PowerShell today is working towards the Graph API.
Graph API.
So if the Graph module doesn't support what I need to do, then going to the API directly is way above my league. Thank you.
Hear a lot of cheers for that one too.
Definitely. I think you have...
you got to migrate here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the reason why I used it the first time is that it's just available on Windows. And this is also the problem kind of nowadays.
Okay.
Because you don't ship the version 7 with Windows. So if I would wish for something that future releases of Windows had just the version 7 or the current version in it, as the previous version had 5.1 in it.
Gotcha. Yep. I just want to pause and just acknowledge something that it might seem like we're just like ignoring this feedback as it's coming in. We are recording it and taking notes on it. And also, I want to acknowledge that we have time for questions later on, and so there'll be time to respond to some of this feedback.
So why don't you bring that question up?
So feel free if some of this, like, you have
minutes.
questions of like, what are you guys doing about some of these things? Like, happy to answer. But right now, I just want to like leave space and time for as much feedback as we can get through. But just want to make sure it's clear that we're not just like ignoring this feedback as it's coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got it. We're totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I started using PowerShell because it was a very easy way to fiddle around with the .NET API. That made things very easy. And the most magic thing I would like to see is inline splatting. So I saved my space, saved myself the variable declaration there. One of the many open tickets there.
Oh, okay.
Inline splatting.
Inline splatting. Got it. I was making sure I heard you correctly. Fantastic. Okay.
I think I saw a hand right here. Yeah.
Oh, we'll go there, and then I think I saw a hand in the back there. Yeah. So go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the main reason I really like PowerShell is that it's simple to use, and it's a lot easier to find a PowerShell developer than a C# developer. But sometimes we find that large PowerShell solutions tend to be a lot less performant than C# solutions. So we often have to write parts of our solutions in C# to kind of make it faster. Increasing, like Bruce showed in the parser speed, that would be amazing.
Cool.
Okay. Increasing the speed.
Go here.
Yeah. Perfect.
Is that? Yeah. I think it would be nice if we as a community might agree on specific standards on how modules should look like, or scripts, like the PEP8 framework. I think as a community we should all agree on what good PowerShell looks like, so we can level up and make stuff more maintenance, make it easier to do some maintenance, and just make it easier on all of us for our next job or the next person next to us.
Cool. Anything else anyone wanted to say? Am I missing any hands?
Speak
Yeah.
now. Why am I the one running? You got that after me.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm not a developer or coder at all, and though I'm using PowerShell to make my life easier, and I'm managing to export data from APIs and putting the data back into SQL database, so that's great. But what's giving me trouble as a non-coder or developer is troubleshooting the scripts that I perform. Yeah, the ISE is giving me two less tools. VS Code is far too much again, on the other hand. And what I was starting with is VBA, so doing macros for Excel, and that was a little bit more comfortable. I would love to see maybe a little bit more of such troubleshooting help in VS Code.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Any other question or
Hands,
feedback or anything?
Feedback. Yep.
So it's just a question about the Graph API, because there is a module and there are some REST API calls with HTTP or other languages. Why haven't PowerShell Invoke-RestMethod been documented in the portal or documentation? That is at least something I would like to see for some of the more advanced API calls.
I see. So are you saying more documentation for Invoke-RestMethod or the actual Graph module?
The actual Graph API. So the Invoke-RestMethod to Graph API version 1/users or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely take note of that.
Yeah. We'll maybe make note of touching on the graph topic in general.
Yeah.
In the Q&A.
Yeah. We'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll touch on a lot of these topics in a couple minutes here, so we can.
One over
I think
here.
there's one more hand.
Thanks. If I have one wish, it would be native proxy support for Azure CLI. and in general for tooling, for CLI tools that are developed out in the cloud world.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Great.
Alrighty. Well, maybe with that, we have about 20 minutes left. So I'm thinking we might.
Do you want to switch to the AMAs?
I'm thinking we might introduce our like amazing co-AMA guests onto the stage.
Yeah.
And take some questions.
So yeah, let's introduce them real quick.
Yeah.
So we have here with us Demitrius. Demitrius Nelon is the senior PM on Winget, the Windows package manager. We also have Andy Jordan. They are the senior developer on the PowerShell VS Code extension. We have Pierre Roman, who has been running around with the mic. He is a senior cloud advocate. And then we also have Jody Boone, who is a PM on machine configuration. So we're all up here. So again, I guess we'll switch the slide. We want your feedback. So any sort of questions you have, I think we'll probably switch it up where me and Cindy might run with the mics now.
Yeah, I can take the mics. Well, actually, then you guys need a mic.
Oh yeah, you need one mic. Yes.
Just shout it out. We'll repeat.
Yeah, we'll repeat it.
There we go.
I guess do we want to first address some of the main topics that came up, or?
Sure. Yeah. So I think two topics I heard that we definitely want to address is sort of like the graph module. What's the situation there? And situation with PowerShell shipping in Windows, PowerShell 7 shipping in Windows.
Well, we can start with PowerShell 7 shipping in Windows, since that is something we can, our team has worked on more specifically. Unfortunately, so the main reason we can't ship in Windows is because of the support lifecycle that is required for an application to ship with Windows. Windows requires a 5 + 5 years, so a 10-year lifecycle. And since we are dependent on .NET Core, or now just .NET, they don't have a lifecycle long enough for us to ship in Windows itself. So unfortunately, we're kind of tied to the lack of a long-term support from .NET in order to ship with Windows. What we are trying to do is trying to make it a lot easier to install PowerShell 7 in Windows, be it like a one-click solution, a simple command solution, or single command solution, so that you can install PowerShell 7 wherever you very easily on your box. And once you have PowerShell 7 installed, we already work with Microsoft Updates, so it will continually stay updated for you if you choose, if you wish. So, did I cover that?
Yeah, I think that covered it. Did anyone else have anything they'd want to add about that? We're good? Yeah, did you have?
I have just a question regarding the PowerShell gallery.
Sure.
How do you ensure that there is no malware published into the PowerShell gallery?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I can definitely take that one. So the question, to repeat it, since we don't have mics on the floor, is how can you ensure that a package on the PowerShell gallery doesn't have any malware on it? And the short, quick answer is you can't. It's a public gallery. It's not trusted by default. I cannot give you a 100% guarantee that there's no malware on our PowerShell gallery. I can't say that with 100% certainty. That being said, we do have some security scans that go on as a post-publish task. So when a module is published to the gallery as a post-publish task, there are some security scans that are run on them, but the PowerShell gallery is not trusted by default for that reason. That being said, I think in our sort of medium term or next semester planning, we do have some significant work planned to build that trust, specifically around author trust and around signing. So I can't say that you can trust the gallery, right? I can't make that security decision for yourself. I would suggest looking into private repositories, and that's something we've really invested in the PS resource Get or PowerShell Get v3 experience. But short answer is it's not trusted for a reason. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Oh, I guess to touch on the graph.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, touch on the graph. Thing I can take a first pass at that question, and then if anyone else wants to take a pass at the graph question, it can as well. So I've heard feedback that the graph module as it stands can be a frustrating experience, can be hard to use. Not going to be a satisfying answer. But the way PowerShell modules work is that the PowerShell team in general for different products and services doesn't own the module, right? So my team doesn't own the module. That being said, I still think it's really important that it's a good experience. I understand that it's a frustrating experience. Our team, through our experience with the AZ module, has learned a lot about developing modules at scale. And so we've sort of escalated this customer feedback about the Graph module very recently. In the past couple of months, we've escalated that feedback sort of up our management chain and sort of our learnings around the AZ module, and have kind of partnered with that team to hopefully make a lot of progress on improving that experience, sharing our learnings kind of about the AZ module and our learnings kind of as PowerShell experts on the PowerShell team, and have kind of agreed to partner with the Microsoft Graph team to improve that experience. I can't say it's going to improve tomorrow. I don't know, when it's going to improve. I did hear that they have sort of extended the timeline on when they're deprecating the old experience. But happy to pass along any feedback. Feel free to reach out to me with any of your sort of verbatims or feedback, and I can kind of connect that and put together a report and continue to kind of work with that team on the experience. Yeah.
And the last thing we'll encourage is give them feedback that it's bad. I mean, I don't know exactly what feedback methods they have, but we have always encouraged folks that partner teams listen to customers quite a lot. So the more customers that are complaining about it, hopefully the more eyes will see it and more improvements they can make. But cool.
Yeah. Other questions? Yeah, we'll go here.
This is the folder name, then I need to go into that folder. So before I can actually deploy, it takes 30 seconds because I need to wait 5 seconds for every folder.
Okay. Are you using specifically Azure PowerShell?
No, it's my PSCo, it's PowerShell 7.
Oh, PowerShell 7, okay. So I guess if it's specifically in...
Do you want to try and repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting. So and correct me if I get this wrong, but your question was around when you're using Bicep files and trying to deploy them. When you're hitting tab in the VS Code experience with PowerShell 7, you have a lag before you get the path of the files.
I think it's related to the fact that I have one path, and then in my next parameter, I pass the new resource group, AC resource group. That's another folder structure. So it's an issue with two different folder structures when you need to tap them through.
Okay.
I think this is an excellent question. I'm wondering if this would be a good opportunity to open a GitHub issue so we could get the specific details of the issue and work with you and debug it together. Okay, yeah. Please do. We would really appreciate it. Yeah. Someone else want to pick someone? Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. So the question was if the VS Code extension has the user Yeah, why don't you repeat the question? I had trouble hearing, sorry.
The question was similar to how VS Code can be installed with user rights and so not require administrative privileges for the installation of VS Code. This isn't actually related to the extension, but PowerShell 7, can we install that without administrative rights? As in, will there be an option to install PowerShell 7 to a user folder with no admin rights? And I don't have the answer. This is for Stephen.
Oh, you don't have the answer? Oh, wait. No. I didn't know this was specifically with VS Code. It sounds like...
I can answer. I can take it.
Okay, you can answer anything?
Yeah. So the question is, can PowerShell be installed without admin rights? Can it be just installed to the local or to user folder? I don't think this is something we've looked at before. I'm wondering, is this through like the store installation?
That kind of scenario, there's a zip file.
A zip file.
Use the zip file.
Sure.
So using the zip releases.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, take the zip, go have fun.
The suggestion right now, great suggestion. I kind of forgot about that. You can download a zip release off of like the GitHub releases and unzip PowerShell to anywhere. I actually do this pretty regularly. I'm surprised I forgot. You don't have to put that in an admin directly. You could unzip it to your documents folder and you can run PowerShell from there. So it's, I don't want to say that it's installed because you're not running an installer. You are just unzipping and running the binary. But you can do that without administrative rights. And I guess that this is maybe kind of an ask for us to see, can we add that checkbox to the PowerShell 7 installer, like the MSI installer, to say, install to my user folder, don't require admin rights.
Yeah.
So we'll write that down.
Yeah,
We'll take that feedback, but I'll say something that's probably going to come off a little annoying. Go ahead, open a GitHub issue in
That's
a repo.
great too. Love GitHub issues.
Just, you know what? That's where we're going to track it, and will I try my best to remember to go home and open a GitHub issue? Yes. But then what's going to happen is 6 months from now, someone's going to be like, message me, ping me on Teams and say, Sydney, why did you open a GitHub issue to have local user PowerShell install? And I don't know, someone said something at PSCo, I'm going to try my best to remember this conversation we had, but it's going to be so much better if you're on the issue and your username is there, and then we can comment and remember your scenario and work with you, and then we have the beta, and then we can ping you and you can test it out. And so it'd be really great if you opened the GitHub issue. Yeah, thank you.
What if you had a package manager that supported executables inside of a zip?
Oh,
hey, there we go.
What if? It's a PROA.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Oh, a Microsoft exam certificate. Will we ever get a Microsoft exam certificate? Pierre, do you know?
The exam debacle, just the fact that we had to work extremely hard, and basically my team was involved with that in rewriting all of the requirements for qualifying for the exam certificates, and we had to basically get buy-in again from the product group, from the Windows product group, to revive. And because of and I'm being completely transparent here, and I may even get some feedback on that. The priority has been hybrid or cloud. So Windows exams were kind of like, okay, we're not going to deal with this anymore. And we had them revived with the AZ800 and AZ801 within the last year. So we are working through that, but it's a long and arduous process. That make sense?
Sure, Miss Eddie.
There is no support for just enough administration when we do PowerShell remoting over OpenSSH. Is it something that is in the pipeline long term?
I think it is on the radars. Oh, sorry. So the question was for just enough administration over OpenSSH. So that, I believe, is currently on the SSH team's plan. I cannot speak to when exactly, but I believe it is on their radar.
Yeah.
So we heard about PowerShell 7.4 coming on. Do you have any news on 8?
PowerShell 8. I have, yeah. So the question is, we heard about PowerShell 7.4. What about PowerShell 8? I can speak to that for sure. I know our team's philosophy at the moment, so that would be like our PM team and Steve Lee, our engineering manager's philosophy at the moment, is that there may never be a PowerShell 8. And that's kind of a hard stance, and we'll see. Like that could always change. Like so, like a version 8 would be like a major breaking change. And at this point in time, we're riding the 7 train. We're happy with 7. I think the trend today in PowerShell is honestly that the PowerShell image is getting. There's more and more pressure right now to make the PowerShell image smaller and smaller and smaller. So you're seeing a trend towards more modularization of PowerShell. And so it's harder and harder to get your PR in to get a new feature into PowerShell. And so I think you're less and less likely to see these major breaking changes that are gonna like add big new features into PowerShell. And you're more and more likely to see the innovation happening around PowerShell. And I think that's been the trend recently. That's my take on it, and that's the direction I see PowerShell going. Is a lot of the innovation is happening all around PowerShell, and when you see we talk to you all at this conference, we talk to customers. People use PowerShell so many different ways, and PowerShell is a platform. PowerShell 7, you saw 1.3 billion sessions per month, right? Like that's a really stable platform that we need, and so making a major breaking change is a really big deal for us. And so I think right now, we don't have any plans for a PowerShell 8. We're really happy with the trends of PowerShell 7, and we're really happy to see a lot of innovation around the modular system. Could always change though, you never know.
Got a question there?
I have a question about PowerShell on Linux, because for me personally, it feels like it would help if the PowerShell would step with like CentOS, those distribution Linux that are popular, just as a part of the base. Like, is anybody in Microsoft trying to advocate for that to make that it's actually with the minimum price of CentOS, you get PowerShell by default or something like that?
So the question was around Linux and PowerShell. If there's been kind of a push for shipping a PowerShell with CentOS or some of the distributions, right, with Linux as a package, as an installed package. The current answer is, that's something that we've not too closely looked at. I think we've really, again, a lot of our priorities has been making sure we are able to cover a lot of the vast variety of distributions. So we are still working on expanding the distributions that PowerShell 7 can support. We are also looking at kind of increasing our ease of install on those platforms as well. Looking at installing by default there, that's something very interesting. So I think we'll definitely take note of that. And would love to also hear more about the scenarios that helps you in your job too.
Just to clarify with Steven here, I think it was more the ask is that it is in the default repositories, not necessarily installed by default, which is something we could work with the open source teams and maintainers to do. But I don't think that we're working on that right now.
I guess I can speak a little bit to that too. I know that it's something that the .NET team has worked on, and so it's kind of like a dependency thing, right? So it's like we're kind of waiting for that to play out and see how that plays out, and then if that were to happen, that opens the door for us, right? Yeah. But I know that that's something that has conversations that have happened. I think we have time for one more question, so let's make it a really hard one, something really juicy.
Tabs or spaces?
Yeah.
What steps are you taking at Microsoft to improve the diversity of the PowerShell community?
Oh, that's a really good one. I can. Yeah. Oh, okay. The question: what steps are you taking at Microsoft to improve the diversity and inclusivity of the PowerShell community? Absolutely. I can take a first pass at this one. Sure. Okay, so I think one thing I am really conscious of and really passionate about working on PowerShell is the open source community aspect of it. But one thing I find really, really challenging for my own personal mental health and well-being is the open source aspect of PowerShell. I think that it's an amazing place to get feedback. It's an amazing place to learn. But man, is it brutal out there sometimes. And so I think something I am just really passionate about is making it feel like a safe place where everybody can come, everybody can contribute, everybody can open an issue. And I know that open source isn't always a space for that. And so I think making our repositories a place that are welcoming, that are safe, that people can make mistakes, that people can ask questions, and making that a safe space, not only for the community, but also for the developers on my team, is something that I feel very passionately about. And so that's something that gets me fired up in the morning. And I would say that's something that I do every single day to make our space more diverse and inclusive.
And I'll just add something to that, is that we are also kind of keeping a more close eye on those in the community who may not make it seem like an inclusive and an open space. And so we're taking those kind of cases very seriously in order to promote inclusivity and a welcoming community, no matter where folks are in their experience level with PowerShell. We want even the most simple questions to, we want people to feel open to ask the most simple questions on the PowerShell community, no matter what it is. We want anyone to feel open to ask any kind of questions. So.
Just to add on to that, we do also take moderation reports seriously. I mean, building and maintaining a healthy open source community is a lot of work, but we're doing our best, and our team is definitely focused on that. So yeah, moderation reports do come in. We take a look at them. We're trying as a team to get better about dealing with that.
And also, when you look at this, the community at large is big. And we do what we can, like you mean, with the moderators and all that. But we can make suggestions and we can make a place for it, but it's also a responsibility of the community itself as well to make itself open as well. Like it's a partnership. It's not just us that makes it open. It's us and you that make it open.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have just a couple minutes left, and I know that we wanted to make a couple quick remarks. So first of all, I want to give the biggest round of applause to Gail. Gail, can you stand up for us? For putting on an amazing conference, and I know Gail puts so much work into this, but he doesn't do it alone. So all the other conference organizers that are in the room, stand up for us.
Come on. Guys, the rest are running around, but yeah, big thank you to the organizers for putting on such an amazing conference this year. We are so blessed to be here, and we love talking with you all and exchanging ideas, networking, sharing all this amazing knowledge about PowerShell. It's just been fantastic. I don't know. I think.
Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for being part of the PowerShell community, and hopefully we'll see you all next year. Hopefully you had a great week. Yeah, that's all.